Alright, I've already done a little bit of this, but I've been working on putting the rings on the pistons, and I have only the top groove left to do. So here is the package. My rings came in, third groove, second groove, first groove. The third groove would be the oil ring, and the second is the middle, and then the first is this top ring. The instructions say that the dot, I don't know if you can see that dot, it is right there at the tip of my fingernail. The dot needs to be facing up. I really like, for their size, they're kind of hard, but I do like these ring pliers here. They're doing a pretty good job. And so you just install them like that, and I'll go through, install these rings on these pistons. Hopefully the video is catching everything that I'm doing, and making sure to always get the dot on top. That's the key thing here. There's two. The oil rings were a little bit harder than I thought they were going to be, but they got on. Problem with rings is because they're very brittle, and last thing you want to do is break them, because then you have to buy a complete set. So all the rings are now on the pistons. When you install them, your rings should be opposite one another. Your ring gap should be opposite one another. So this ring gap will be over here, and then on the opposite side of the piston will be your other ring gap, like so. I'll go ahead and probably the next step is I'll get some assembly lube on the pistons, etc. I'll get some assembly lube in the cylinders of the pony motor, and we'll start installing pistons. This is pretty cool. We have 2 of the 4 pistons in. I wanted to actually, I didn't video me putting these 2 pistons in, mostly because I wasn't sure how it was going to go and how long it was going to take me. To get those 2 pistons right there, it took me an hour and 30 minutes. So hopefully the other 2 go a little bit smoother. I had some, and they're already torqued and everything, so there shouldn't be any problems whatsoever. I just need to torque the other 2. 6.5 foot-pounds is not a lot of torque, but there's also not a lot of space in the crankcase. So hopefully when I do the other 2, I'll at least show you that. So yeah, a couple other things that I ran across is my ring compressor here will not go to 2 inches. I can get it back to 2 1/4, and that's where it stops. I bought it so long ago I can't remember what the original specs were on it. But what I'm doing is I'm actually, to compress the rings, I'm doing 1 ring at a time, and I'm using zip ties. Seems a bit odd, but I will show you how I'm doing that. It's kind of one of those, I want to get this done. I don't want to have to go into town and buy a new ring compressor or try to find one. So got my assembly lube out and got my pistons set up and everything. So I'll go ahead and set you up, and we will put the other pistons in. Alright, so I'm going to start working on this side of the cylinder. These 2 cylinders, getting these pistons in. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my engine assembly lube, and I'm actually going to put some down in the bore here. This is the worst stuff. If you've never used this stuff before, it's basically like a really thick oil. You can kind of see how stringy it is. Hopefully the camera's not jostling around too much as I'm putting this stuff in. But basically, I'm going to coat these cylinders with it, and then after I get done with that, I'm going to coat the pistons with it. So here are pistons. I'm going to go ahead and just dab some on the pistons, get them all nice and lubed up. I'm not really worried about the direction of the piston rings at the moment. I'll worry about that here in a little bit when I actually install the pistons. Alright, so let me show you what I'm doing here. So here's the connecting rod. So we see that one side is chamfered right there and the other side is flat. This flat side goes against the other connecting rod. So what I'm going to do is, let me see if I can bring you over here, and we'll go ahead and turn it over a little bit. Hopefully you can see down in there. Sorry, I got it zoomed in. Alright, so you can see down in there, and you can see on this side right here, that's the connecting rod, or I mean that's the crankshaft, and that's the other connecting rod there at the tip of my finger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this chamfered edge like that. It's going to be up against the shoulder of the crankshaft. So I'm going to go ahead and get the piston in there, and get it just setting in there, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how I was using the zip ties. Alright, so what I've done is I'll go ahead, and the piston is just sitting in here right now. Like I said, my spring compressor won't get small enough, so I'm going to have to do this a little differently than you would normally do it. So what I've done is I've actually taken the top ring out, and so we're just down to 2 rings. And so we're going to put I'm going to put the oil ring in first, and I should be able just to do that by hand. It's pretty easy. The only problem is when you're doing this with gloves, the gloves really like to stick. There we go. There. Alright. Nope. I may have to use, so I've got I built this hammer a couple years ago. It's just an oak handle, brass head, and then it's just got an oak tip on it. Really nice for doing stuff like this. Really kind of helps take some of the stress out of, marring parts and stuff like that, particularly when you're working with aluminum. So now I'm going to take one of my my zip ties here, and this is where you start paying attention to where your ring gaps are at. So this is a gap right here. The gap on my oil ring was up top, and so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rotate this one 180 degrees, and then going to tighten this up just like that. And I missed my ring. Go figure. Yep. Alright. So, start over. That one didn't work. I missed the ring. So we're going to try again. This is not a cheap way to do it because, zip ties are a one-time use type deal. Still going to make sure your oil ring gap, the ring gap has not moved. Go ahead and get it down, and then cinch it down a little bit. And now what we can do is we can take and just like that, we've got that one in. Alright, we're going to try this little trick again on the last piston. Naturally, right after I turn the camera off, if that even makes it into the final cut here, it went right in. So once again, I've taken the top ring out. And so just the bottom ring is in, and I just realized I had forgotten where, no, that's right. I had forgotten where the ring gap was for the oil ring, but I remembered now. So go ahead, put my zip tie on here. Just like that. And there we go. The second ring is in. So now we just have the top ring to put in. Like I said, we'll put this on here. And then we'll rotate it around so it's on the opposite side. We'll get our handy dandy little tool out again. A little different one because you have to replace them every time. And like that, and then we'll go ahead and just like that. And both the other side pistons are in, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to flip the engine around, and I'm going to flip it over on its side so I can put the rod caps on. So you can see the two rods in there. The easiest thing to do, and we'll see if I can't do this while I've got the camera, is to rotate this around, and it should pick up the rods. Should being the key word. Sorry, this is kind of complicated. Okay, so there we've picked up the rod, so I'll go ahead and get the rod caps on, and then I'll work on seeing if I can develop a setup to show you how exactly tight it is in there, trying to torque everything down. Well, got the pistons in, kind of happy about that. Everything seems to turn over just fine. They're all torqued and whatnot. So I've already gone ahead and rotated them a couple times. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I don't see anything bad, so I will get the engine sitting back upright, and I think I'll call this part of the video done, and then we'll work on reassembling. I got to put the oil pump, and then got to put the oil pump back in, and then fix the governor oil. I got to put the screen on, then put the plate on the bottom, stuff like that. So we should be good to go.